Okay, we're starting to understand that ideas don't occur as sudden flashes. They are instead the product of a slow and iterative process, the slow hunch. But this is new to you. In the past, what happened when you were asked to write a paper? What kind of strategies did you use?
You mean like writing it the night before?
Yeah, what was that experience like for you?
Well, I wasn't really sure about what to write, and whenever I finally sat down at my computer, I realized that there was an article I read from another class, and it really helped me. It connected with my topic, and it really helped me with my thesis statement.
How likely was it that you needed an article from a different class to provide the needed spark? It seems more likely that the idea you generated was based on some handy information that just happened to be available.
I actually worked on a research paper I wrote over most of a semester, but it didn't feel like I said anything new. It was more of a report on the different things I had read.
You may have done a lot more than you realized. We'll talk about the importance of reading a little bit later on. On the other hand, those that try to write most of a paper in 1 or 2 sittings, and that's certainly something I did when I was in college, are influenced by the common expectation that a flash of insight, a eureka moment, will produce a great idea. Unfortunately, not only are good ideas not generated this way, when we rely on a flash to generate an idea, that idea sometimes includes some perceptual problems that will continue to influence us. Cognitive psychologists, those researchers who study how people think and acquire knowledge, tell us that the anticipation of a eureka moment makes us susceptible to something called the availability heuristic.
What in the world is a heuristic?
Sorry to throw these new terms at you. A heuristic is simply a mental shortcut. Sometimes we call them rules of thumb. They are quick and easy ways to make decisions. Availability refers to the judgments we make about an event based on how easy it is to think of examples. In other words, if we can easily recall something, we assume that it must be important.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Can you give an example?
Sure, I can do that. What did Anne do?
Well, obviously she's going to the bank.
To do what?
Who knows? Maybe she wants to deposit some money, use the ATM.
What if I told you Anne was carrying a fishing pole?
Well, that changes things. Now I would say Anne is walking to the bank of a river to fish.
Right, but your immediate go-to answer came from the easy connection you made between how I described Anne's behavior and your own readily available experience. Even if you were momentarily uncertain, you bet on a likely explanation. Your own recent experiences carry the greatest weight in determining your bet because these are the data most readily available to you. That's the availability heuristic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so when I read that article before writing my research paper, my brain assumed that they were connected. I did pretty well on that paper though.
In a stack of hastily written papers, there are various qualities that a professor is looking for. That doesn't mean the paper you produced was not overly influenced by what was available in your brain that night. If we act according to the information easily available to us, and if that information is heavily dependent on our most recent experiences, then any eureka-like moment of inspiration we have means that our research ideas will be heavily influenced by the limitations of our experiences. Passively waiting for a flash of insight, coupled with the dominant influence of what's currently available in our brains, means that eureka moments are entirely undependable.
Well, that seems reasonable, but if we now understand that ideas are best described as flashes and that the availability heuristics will influence us heavily if a flash does occur, does this knowledge kind of warn us against the influence of what we've learned most recently, of the knowledge that's easily available?
Absolutely. Such knowledge is indeed necessary. However, it's not sufficient to the task of shielding us from the danger. You must additionally appreciate the significant influence of another cognitive shortcut, the confirmation bias.
Awesome, another heuristic.
Yes, another heuristic, but I think you'll have a much easier time with this one. It describes a feature of human behavior that you probably already intuitively understand, or at least suspect. Confirmation bias is the tendency we all possess to search for new information or an explanation for new information that proves or reinforces our pre-existing beliefs. The bias also reduces or altogether stops our search for information which disagrees with or disproves those beliefs.
Oh yeah, I have suspected that for a while now.
Me too, especially among those that I disagree with.
Well, don't overlook that same tendency in yourself. As Charles Safe reminds us, it's human nature to resist change, to cling to our familiar ideas. We shrink away from data that challenge our prejudices. We tend to seek out and to believe data that reinforce them. With respect to research ideas, the combination of confirmation bias with easily available information makes it more likely that a eureka moment will fool us into thinking we've had an insight. The resulting double whammy means that unless we are consciously careful, and that means not waiting around for flashes, damaging bias will influence our research from the moment of its inception. So expecting flashes of insight not only misrepresents reality, but it also increases the chances that we will fall victim to the dangerous influences of availability and confirmation bias.